Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 18 of CCFR Radio on the Air. I'm your host, Rod Giltaca. Thanks for joining me again. Ms. Wilson is going to be along for the ride for the entire show, and we're going to be covering the Raining Guns contest, which was the biggest contest the CCFR ever did. We gave away 100 guns, so that's pretty awesome. The CCFR got a letter of appreciation from a mayor in Ontario. Interesting story about that. The Saskatchewan legislation that has been passed and now implemented that we've been talking about is going full steam ahead, protecting residents of Saskatchewan against criminal liability should the feds end the amnesty. And we've got a full-length interview with Kerry-Lynne Findlay, who is running to be the leader of the Conservative Party of British Columbia. All that and more. CCFR Radio starts right now.
CCFR Radio on the Air is brought to you by Wild TV Plus, the best hunting, fishing, and outdoor content available anywhere, anytime, on any device. Visit wildtvplus.ca.
All right, we are back, and via the internet, we've got Tracy Wilson of the CCFR. Wilson!
Giltaca, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Good. I never get sick of that, and it's funny every time I hear it.
It's still funny, hey?
It is. It's still funny. It's even funny when it happens out in public, and that happens all the time. So
In the
yeah,
wild?
in the wild,
Yeah.
Costco, yeah, wherever.
All
Yep.
right. So we've got a few things to cover, but the first thing we have to cover is really, really important. We launched a contest. It was called It's Raining Guns. We were giving away 100 guns, so people had 100 chances to win. Just as at the same time as helping the CCFR. And we've done a lot of contests over the last 10 years, and it was by far the biggest contest we ever did. It was fantastic.
Yeah, let's talk about crazy. This was wild. And I want to give a special thank you one last time to everybody who donated for that, because without them, we couldn't have done any of this. So thanks to the Calgary Shooting Center, Ward and Bud Haynes Auction, Hunters Headquarters, Canuck Guns, Select Shooting Supplies, General Gun, SFRC Ammo Source, Reliable Gun Vancouver, Jost Arms, Simply Berkey, Gagnon Sports, Stan's Plumbing Service, Prophet River Firearms, CATF, Spectre Ballistics, Magnus and Sons, YR Firearms, Loberg Ector LLP, and a very special thank you to JR and the whole crew over at Sterling Arms. Without all their help, this would have never happened. So just wildly successful. And thanks to everyone who played. And yeah, just incredible contest. I want to do it again because we made it rain.
Well, we will do it again and push another 100 guns into circulation, which is a good thing
Doing
to
our
do
part.
with responsible, law-abiding gun owners. But yeah, the response was fantastic. It's really helped us. We've got projects that are coming out soon. I want to talk about those, but in due course, obviously. But we couldn't do any of this stuff without everyone helping us so much. So really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Now,
that's right.
I've got something to talk about. It's a little bit difficult to explain everything, but I think it's around the context of we have a field officer, fairly new field officer, but he is unbelievable. Derek Gowland. He won Field Officer of the Month last month, and well, I guess it wasn't April. It would have been March.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in March. And Derek had sent us a message about this whole kind of thing. He was out doing some gun shows and whatever on behalf of the CCFR. But long story short, Brian Grant, who is the mayor of Waynfleet, this is in the Niagara region, and a regional chair of the Niagara region municipality, issued a certificate of appreciation to the CCFR for our work, which is unbelievable. He also ran into Richard Dykstra of the Ontario Gun Shows, who's always been really friendly to the CCFR, really helped us. Also owns Creekside Gun Shop, made a donation to the CCFR. And then at the same time, ran into Patrick and Dominique of the Niagara Regional Sportsmen's Gun Club, who are making a substantial donation to the CCFR to help with costs associated with the Supreme Court challenge and everything else that we're doing. So yeah, I just want to thank all those people. I mean, so many people have stepped forward. These aren't the only people that are helping the CCFR, but it's just such a great example and such a cool thing to get a certificate of appreciation from a mayor.
Well, that's the part that really stuck out to me when you were telling me about this, is it's awesome to be recognized by yet another official at a different level of government who's grateful for the work we're doing to try and reroute the focus of law enforcement and public safety back on to reducing crime, not reducing legal gun ownership. So, yeah, I love that part. So thank you to all of them for helping us do the stuff we do.
Well, and it's an opportunity to say thank you to everyone who's helping the CCFR. Like the CCFR would not exist without you. And same
Yep,
thing with
exactly.
gun clubs. Gun clubs have been sending us donations all over the place. So just it we just really, really appreciate the support and the trust. So anyway, all right, we're out of time. But when we come back, we've got some very interesting stuff to talk about. So stick with us. We've got a story about the Saskatchewan, the province of Saskatchewan, and what they're doing to protect gun owners. And I know we've
Mhm.
talked quite a bit about it in the past, but the legislation, if you guys remember from a couple of episodes ago, the legislation, the most recent legislation that they were passing to protect gun owners from criminal liability for hanging on to their own firearms has passed. Their system has been implemented. Apparently, it's gone quite well. But one of the other things that happened in Saskatchewan is that the Saskatchewan Chiefs of Police Association president actually thanked the Saskatchewan government for pushing back on the feds on the buyback and their potential involvement with it, right? Keeping them out of it.
Mhm.
And for allowing these for the province of Saskatchewan, allowing them to focus on the activities and offenses of criminals instead of law-abiding gun owners. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, to me, that was the most important part of that press conference was watching the president of the Police Chiefs Association stop and turn to the government of Saskatchewan officials and thank them for not forcing them to confiscate guns on behalf of the Liberal government. Just a mind-blowing indictment on the Liberal government's policy. So, yeah, just crazy, wild, loved it. Way to go, Saskatchewan. By far have done the most out of any province to protect their gun owners. So, just
Yeah.
amazing.
They are. They truly are leading the way, and I'm
Yeah.
hoping that other provinces start picking up what they're laying down and implementing similar measures because I think with this latest measure, I think they actually have come up with a way to protect gun owners from the criminal charges that would be a reality to most people when the amnesty ends. So,
Yeah, that's right.
mean, the CCFR were pursuing an injunction, for lack of a better term, on as far as the amnesty is concerned, because we're going to the Supreme Court, and that court schedule isn't going to line up with the end of the amnesty. It's going to be past that. So, depending on what we do, I think most people may still be protected, but Saskatchewan's always going the extra distance for gun owners. Okay,
Yes.
so the moving on, the federal government's confiscation slash compensation program has taken another inch forward where they've sent out emails to people who have registered to take part in the program and said, hey, respond to us within 5 days if you want to actually get any money or turn these guns in. Plus, there are more qualifiers. What's going on there,
Yeah.
Ms. Wilson?
Yeah, this is nuts. So you'll remember last time we talked about how there was the declaration period, 30 some thousand Canadians declared 60 some thousand firearms. We're trying to get some of those withdrawn. But for those that didn't withdraw, they got received an email saying they have 5 days notice to schedule their appointments to turn their guns in for confiscation and destruction. And one guy wrote to me and it was hilarious. He says he's got 4 firearms affected by these bans. And they said, nope, that's too many. We just can't simply handle that many. So it's like you got 5 days and a 3 gun maximum to deal with this. So, my advice, of course, the easiest thing would be to withdraw and wait out the eventual decision from the Supreme Court. But it just goes to show you that this program has completely failed. If they can't handle more than 3 when some people own dozens of firearms affected. So just nuts.
Honestly,
Nutso.
what an absolute mess. Like what an
Yeah, crazy.
absolute clown show. I mean legitimately, not because we're against it, just like think about what a ridiculous mess this is. But anyway,
Mhm. Yeah.
okay. One more thing. I guess there's a bit of well, we don't know if it's a scam or not for retail outlets taking part in the compensation program for their firearms. Yeah, some weird stuff's going on there.
Yeah, that's right. So the retailer portion of the program is reopened for the rest of the inventory that they can't sell. And I had a retailer reach out. He received an email from what appears to be the assault style firearm compensation program to do a test payment for $2. He calls them. They said, no, it's a scam. Don't do it. I tweeted about it. Public safety tweeted about it. So we thought, okay, that's it. It's a scam. Next thing you know, he gets a call a week ago saying, no, it's not a scam. You must complete this. So I don't even know how to end this segment because nobody actually knows what the truth is. This is actually such a wild mess, open to corruption and scamming. And I don't know how to finish that. It's just a disaster.
Well, it's hard to differentiate a scam from the program because the program is kind of a scam. But
Yes, it is.
anyway, all right, we're out of time for this segment. But when we come back, we'll have that interview with Kerry-Lynne Findlay. So stick with us. Kerry-Lynne Findlay, welcome.
Thank you. Very nice to be here.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. So we'll start with a quick introduction. I'm going to make
Sure.
this super brief, and hopefully it's perfectly accurate. You're a lawyer by trade, quite a long-time politician. You served as a cabinet minister under Stephen Harper.
Okay.
Also, you were even in opposition with Pierre Poilievre up till the last election.
That's right. His whip.
Yeah, the popular,
Yeah.
popular
No
position.
whips are really very popular.
Yeah, well, if you're not doing it right, if you are, I think. And now you're running for the leader of the Conservative Party of British Columbia with the eventual goal to be Premier of BC.
Yes, I am. And proud to be here to put forward my vision, my ideas.
Well, that's great. And so specifically, we're going to talk about, I guess, property rights and the ability for people to legally own and use firearms. The federal government is rolling out this, well, they've had all these bans and they're rolling out this confiscation/compensation program. And we've had almost every police force in Canada line up against the government. We've had almost every province line up against them, every territory line up against them. Have you ever seen anything like that in politics in your lifetime?
I really haven't, especially that merging of police forces with provincial governments. And it's encouraging because certainly as Premier, I would stand up to this gun grab. I don't believe in it. It's an asset confiscation. It's targeting law-abiding gun owners, which makes no sense to me. We know for years and years through many studies that criminal gun violence is basically from smuggled guns where they erase the serial numbers, smuggled guns usually out of the States. We have a porous border when it comes to inspecting containers, inspecting shipments that can come through waterways as well. That's where we should be looking. You don't punish law-abiding people for the actions of the criminal element. We do not need to go after law-abiding people, farmers, hunters, sport shooters. There's even an air gun group in my area where I live, and they're after their guns because they look too much like the real thing. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
It's wrong.
It is, and it's a property rights issue, and it's interesting to me how the people that go along with all this stuff and a lot of other things that the government is doing, whether it's free speech or property rights or guns or anything, it's a really it's an anti-freedom agenda.
Absolutely.
And people fought and died to have a country where we would have some level of freedom that we could enjoy as opposed to other people in the world. And this federal government and certainly the NDP, they just want to roll it all back. So I guess one of the questions would be, if you were successful in becoming the Premier of British Columbia, would you take the time and the effort to see what the province could do to push back against this invasion of this confiscation of our property and the overreach of the federal government?
Well, of course, it's overreach of provincial government as well.
Mm-hmm.
And even in my kind of my logo, I say less government, more freedom. And I mean that because government overreach, that socialist creep is what we're dealing with here in BC. also federally. But because I'm running for leader of the Conservative Party of BC, I think it's really important to have a conservative as the leader of that party. And when I say that, it isn't a label, it's a lens through which conservatives view the world, which is that, yes, collective peace, order, and good government, rule of law is very important. But who is creating those laws, and what is the lens through which they're governing? And this NDP government is just always more and more control.
The public safety crisis
Mhm.
in British Columbia, whether it's the safe supply crisis,
Yep.
Whether it's just the criminal activity or the extortion, like BC has become, in fact, the Americans don't even trust us in British Columbia enough to share in criminal intelligence with us because we're doing such a poor job.
You know, some people have asked me, well, what can you do provincially? Because the criminal code, of course, is federal.
Mhm.
And a lot of the sentencing regulations are federal. But in British Columbia, under a former NDP government, the Attorney General of the day, Ujjal Dosanjh, changed the charge threshold for Crown Counsel here. First of all, the police can charge in other provinces. I think we need to look at that. But right now, it's Crown Counsel that approves charges here. But they have a higher threshold than every other province, except, I believe, Quebec. Instead of a reasonable likelihood of conviction, they have to achieve a substantial likelihood of conviction before they approve charges. Well, if you were a criminal and you were involved in criminal enterprise and you wanted to decide where to live, you're going to go where it's harder to charge you, aren't you?
Yeah.
And the weather's better.
Yeah.
But
So we have both of those things going
we
against
have
us.
both of those things. And I want to change that. That's something you can change very quickly by direction of the Attorney General. And by these are regulations you can change. It doesn't require legislative change. There's certain things we can do right away, and certain things will take some time to process. I am so glad to see Canadians saying we refuse, because this kind of government overreach counts on apathy. It counts on the fact that we're all so busy paying our taxes and trying to keep in business that we don't have time to organize. That's why you need organizations like CCFR, because it's hard to get freedom-loving people who in their spare time would rather go fish or hunt. It's
Yeah.
hard to get them to come together and
Absolutely.
organize and
Yeah.
advocate. It's not an easy role to take on, but it's very, very necessary in any robust democracy that the citizens themselves speak up along with the political leaders. And we have a lot to push back against here.
We do. We do.
Mm.
All right. Well, I think we're out of time for now.
Okay.
So thanks so much, Kerry-Lynne, for being here. I really appreciate it.
And I really appreciate your time.
And good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we are back, and we've got one more thing to talk about, and that's Field Officer of the Month for April 2026. But before we get there, I just want to mention a couple of things about Kerry-Lynne Findlay, who you just watched that interview. And I had the opportunity to talk to the campaign staff of a couple of the, I guess they're candidates for the leadership of the Conservative Party of British Columbia. And Kerry-Lynne was the only one that really made that happen. And I'm really glad that I met her. And she's got a lot of experience, and she, I think she has a good sense of what's right and wrong. So we'll see. We may have just talked to the future premier of British Columbia. Time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see. That's been a really interesting nomination race of watching this for leader of the BC Conservatives. I'm out here in Ontario, so of course I don't get a say. But yeah, Kerry-Lynne is a very accomplished, very experienced lady. So yeah, I really enjoyed the interview.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Mhm.
Now, Field Officer of the Month for April 2026. Now, this is kind of a special one. This is a newer field officer. You're going to talk about that a little bit. But this is Sean Branch, otherwise known as the Tenant.
That's right. It's so funny. So if you guys think you don't know him, you probably do. You'll remember a little while back we had that leaked audio clip where the minister didn't think anyone was listening, so he told the truth and said that the gun grab was just for politics and for votes in Quebec. And this was during a conversation he was having with his tenant. And that would be Sean Branch. So he has since joined the CCFR, become a field officer. He's been at tons of events. He traveled with me to Quebec City to the rally there. He was instrumental in helping organize the one in Waterloo region. Even got to go up and shake hands with Pierre, who thanked him for his service, so to speak. And yeah, Sean's just an all around great guy, just a good gunny, family man. Just love that guy. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks, Sean, for everything you do for the CCFR. And looking forward to many, many more years working together.
Absolutely. And if Sean doesn't know or anyone else has forgotten, if you are Field Officer of the Month for the CCFR, you get a year's free subscription to Canadian Access to Firearms, otherwise known as CATF, graciously donated every month by our friend Donovan Dewis over there. You also get a $100 promo code to the CCFR's online store, so you get yourself some swag. Of course, you get mentioned here on our nationally broadcast television show, CCFR Radio on the Air on Wild TV, and also in our podcast, the biggest firearm-related podcast in the country, called the CCFR Radio Podcast on all of these social media platforms. So thanks again, Sean. Really appreciate it. And I think before we wrap up, one last thank you to everyone who participated in the Raining Guns contest. Really appreciate it. And when it comes to the CCFR, if you think, you know, going to the Supreme Court is a worthwhile endeavor, or doing any of the projects, or the what's the word, public relations projects, or participating in elections, if you think any of that stuff's worthwhile, then feel free to become a member or donate to the CCFR anytime. Any last comments, Ms. Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, there's strength in numbers. So for me, it's really important people take the step to become a member. And yeah, thanks for being here and helping us do all the crazy stuff we do.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the update, and we will see you in the next one.
All right, we'll see you then.